Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's a professional here. So today I want to talk about this article that I read about Take-Two Interactive, who is the publisher of Rockstar games, and how their CEO or boss gets a really big bonus for selling enough microtransactions. Now microtransactions don't just apply to shark cards, they can also apply to gold bars in Red Dead Online, and they can also apply to other games. I believe they also own the 2K sport games. Now anyways, let's take a look at this article, I'll read through it, and I'll let you guys know what I think of it. Now that that's out of the way, a recent SEC filing from gaming giant Take-Two Interactive revealed just how attractive microtransactions are in their live services. The publisher is well known for their Grand Theft Auto and NBA 2K series, both of which feature fairly heavy-handed implementation of microtransactions and live services. These microtransactions earn the company hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of the game's lifetime. I mean, why just charge the customer once when you can charge them multiple times, even when they own the game? Now here's what I think. I'm not against microtransactions being in games. I have no problem with them. If companies want to make money with them, that's fine with me. And if it wasn't for shark cards, we wouldn't have all this free DLC in GTA Online. So I am grateful for all the free DLC in GTA Online. The problem I have with microtransactions is when they're pushed in games. Like when you play a game and you feel like you can't have fun in that game unless you buy that microtransaction, that microtransaction is so pushed that you feel like you can't play the game without it. That's when I have a problem with microtransactions. When they're like cosmetic things, they're like money things in GTA Online, I'm okay with it. I don't like the prices of the shark cards in GTA Online, but I'm fine with them. Now let's read more about the bonus that the CEO is supposed to get. So the SEC filing, which was written on America's tax day, April 15, revealed performance-based awards, which are bonuses set up to be awarded to none other than the company's biggest shareholder, Zelnick Media, whenever they made a certain amount from microtransactions. In other words, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick, who is coincidentally also the CEO of Zelnick Media, gets to award himself a bonus whenever the company reaches its target quota for selling microtransactions in their video games. Microtransactions, which are also known as recurrent consumer spending, made an estimated $300 million just last quarter for Take-Two. When implemented properly, they are a goldmine for a lot of publishers, especially since games use certain models to make microtransactions more attractive for its consumers. The big self-congratulatory reward is also given for doing well in what could be considered the gaming industry's most important metric, short and long-term earnings. When you take all these numbers into account, it's not hard to see why every publisher wants to have live services and microtransactions implemented. However, this nickel and diming of the consumers may yet see a breaking point, seeing as we finally experiencing some serious pushbacks. If the recent selling point of no loot boxes for Electronic Arts Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is to be believed, in any case, publisher greed is a very real thing, and you can expect that what they're experiencing now won't be the worst of it. Okay, now as I said earlier, I don't have a problem with microtransactions as long as they're cosmetic, they're not pay-to-win microtransactions, and they aren't like pushed in the game where you absolutely feel like you need to buy the microtransaction or you can't have fun in the game. When microtransactions are pushed to that extent, a game doesn't become fun for me. And shark cards, they have their pros definitely of, we're getting all this free content in the game, and the more shark cards that are sold, the more likely that we're going to get some kind of DLC. And, eventually they're going to make some kind of DLC expansion on GTA Online. I don't know when, but hopefully it's a big one because we haven't had one since about December with the Arena Wars update. But this can also be bad with the executives' bonuses. Now, the CEO getting a bonus, not necessarily a bad thing. It's their company. They get a bonus for how well their company is doing, how much money they're making. That's fine. That's understandable. The problem here is, what happens if the publisher, because this has happened in other games, what happens if the publisher, like Take-Two, they go after Rockstar and they absolutely push them to make a new DLC that focuses entirely on microtransactions? And this has happened. If you take a look at Arena Wars, for instance, Arena Wars, the last DLC that we got in December, that DLC was set up entirely for you to waste as much money as possible. All the other DLCs in GTA Online, at least most of them, if you grinded the game for like about a month, you did a lot of the activities, you could buy pretty much everything in that DLC. You could buy the clothes, the guns, the properties, the cars. That would be affordable. It would be no problem. The problem with Arena Wars was everything was so expensive in that DLC, and a lot of things were locked behind trade prices. Even the clothes were locked behind trade prices. There was just, the vehicle upgrades were just absolutely outrageous in price. It was more expensive than anything I've ever seen in a DLC. Arena Wars is the most overpriced DLC that I've ever seen in GTA Online. And it's kind of ridiculous how the whole trade price system worked, because in previous DLCs, you could just do an activity for that business, do the heist, whatever that DLC came with, and you unlock the trade price. But the trade price in the arena was just so random. It was so random, you didn't know what you were going to get, and the pay in the arena itself was just so terrible, and people invested all this money hoping that they would get money back, and they didn't, and they wasted a ton of money. And if somebody wants all those arena vehicles in that DLC, they would have to waste a lot of money. It didn't affect me as much because I had hundreds of millions of dollars grinded, but if somebody would want all those vehicles, they would either have to grind the game for a decent amount of time, more than 1 month, definitely more than 1 month, months even, to get all that money for all those cars, or they could go and buy a shark card. And this is where it can get a little scary, because you can have like the CEO and you can have the publisher basically push Rockstar and say, okay, your next DLC, whatever it is, if it's on Red Dead Online, if it's on GTA Online, it needs to be focused on shark cards. You need to make the consumer spend as much money as possible. And in the other DLCs, people, they did buy shark cards. They either played the activities, they made the money and they bought the activities, or they bought the shark cards. And that worked. It was fine. It wasn't really broken. Arena Wars, just so overpriced, and that's why so many people hated it. Arena Wars even had a feature where you had the apocalyptic, the future, and the nightmare variant in vehicles, and you would buy one, you would buy the apocalyptic variant, and then you would want the futuristic variant. You couldn't switch it in the mechanics shop. You had to buy the same vehicle twice, wasting even more money. And the fact that the pay was just so bad, people just stopped playing it. And that DLC, I don't know how much money they made from that DLC, because the way I played that DLC, the vibe that I got from it, it was to make the player waste as much money as possible. And it wasn't fun. And that's what's kind of scary here. Imagine if they release a DLC for Red Dead Online, because in Red Dead Online, it's already happening, where there's certain things that you can only buy with gold bars. Thankfully, you can also earn the gold bars in-game. You don't have to just buy them at the store, but they're much harder to earn in-game than they are cash. And what happens if they make a new DLC, they make some kind of property, like people really want properties in Red Dead Online. What if they add like player housing, and they say, oh, you need 50 gold bars in order to buy a house. You can't buy it with cash. What happens then? This might sound ridiculous, but you never know if it could happen, because this has happened with other publishers. If you take a look at Electronic Arts, they were actually mentioned in this article. EA, when I played Star Wars Battlefront 2 the first time, I played that beta, that was the worst microtransaction system that I've ever experienced. It was just so bad. It was set up entirely to be pay to win, and it was pushed so much. And due to backlash, they changed a lot of the things. But DICE, the developer of Star Wars Battlefront 2, I don't think they were the ones who came up with those ideas. That was Electronic Arts. That had EA written all over it. They were the ones, the publisher were the ones who came up with all these loot boxes and all these microtransactions. What happens if that happens to Rockstar Games, where Take-Two just starts going crazy with these microtransactions, these gold bars? There's a reason. There's a reason that they added microtransactions to Red Dead Online so early. It's a beta, but yet they added microtransactions. I've never seen a beta add microtransactions, because they want to monetize it as early as possible. They want to start making as much money as possible. And there's things in the game, a lot of clothes, that you can only buy with gold bars. And it frustrates some people. And some people that aren't going to feel like grinding, they are just going to buy that microtransaction, and then they're going to start making money. So you see, this is where it becomes harmful for the games. It becomes harmful for GTA, for Red Dead Online, and other games. If a publisher is going to push their developer to sell as much microtransactions as possible, that's where the content is really going to start suffering for the game. And I really hope that doesn't happen. I really hope that Rockstar learns their lesson from Arena Wars, and I hope the next DLC, I don't have a problem with some things being expensive in the next DLC, but please don't make everything so overpriced. I have plenty of money in this game, it doesn't affect me, but a lot of other people, they don't have as much time as me to grind, they don't have as much money on the game, and they're going to feel like they're going to need to buy these microtransactions, or they're just going to stop playing the game. And that's the point where the game doesn't become fun anymore. So please, Rockstar, don't fall into that category. Don't be like EA. Don't let Take-Two run you down like EA ran DICE down. Don't let that happen. And there's nothing wrong, like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with them making money from microtransactions. Nothing wrong with the boss getting a bonus. But it just worries me that they're gonna want these bonuses, they're gonna want to make more money, and they're gonna push the developers into making something that we the players are not gonna like, and that we the players, it's gonna hurt us in the long run. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like. If you're new to my channel and enjoy my content, subscribe. Let me know down below, what do you think? What is your opinion on this? And what do you think on the current status of microtransactions on GTA Online and Red Dead Online? Let me know down below. I'll try to respond to as many people as I can. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.